All right, today we're going to journey deep inside our own cells to unpack one of the most famous and yet surprisingly mysterious characters in all of biology, the mighty mitochondrion.
I bet you've heard this a million times, right? Probably in a high school biology class. It's one of those things that just sticks with you. It's catchy, it's memorable, but what does being the powerhouse of the cell actually mean? How does it all work? And honestly, why should you care? Well, that is exactly what we are going to break down right now.
To really get mitochondria, we have to go way, way back in time. Because, you see, we're not just talking about some random part of a cell. No, we are talking about a character with a backstory that is just wild.
So, first things first, what are we even looking at? Well, simply put, there are these tiny, kind of oval-shaped structures that live inside both animal and plant cells. And their entire job description? To generate energy. That's it.
Okay, now here's where it gets really crazy. Get this. Mitochondria weren't always in our cells. The leading theory is that they were once their own thing, free-living bacteria. Billions of years ago, they basically struck a deal with our ancient ancestors. They moved in, and they've been our roommates ever since. This is why they have their own separate DNA, and why they can even make copies of themselves inside our cells. Think about that. You literally have ancient bacteria living inside of you right now, working for you.
Okay, so there are ancient roommates. Cool. But what do they do? Well, this is where that whole powerhouse thing comes back in. And honestly, don't think of it like a simple battery. It's way more like a super sophisticated, high-tech factory.
Their one major job is to be a conversion plant. They take the raw materials, the nutrients from the food you eat and the oxygen from the air you breathe, and they transform them into a special type of energy that the cell can actually use to get things done.
So how does this factory actually work? The process is called cellular respiration, and it's actually pretty straightforward when you break it down. Step 1. The cell grabs some nutrients, mostly a sugar called glucose. Step 2. The mitochondria use the oxygen you're breathing right now to break that sugar apart. And step 3, the final product that comes out is this amazing little molecule called ATP.
And this molecule, ATP, is the absolute key. It's often called the energy currency of the cell, and that analogy is just perfect. If a cell wants to do, anything, move, repair itself, send a signal, it has to spend some ATP. It's like biological cash. Without it, the whole economy of the cell just completely grinds to a halt. It really is the universal fuel for life.
Okay, so let's bring this out of the microscopic world for a second and connect it directly to you, to your own body, and your everyday experience of just being alive.
Just pause and think about this for a second. The very reason you breathe is to feed your mitochondria. We all know we breathe to stay alive, sure, but why? It's because every single breath you take is a special delivery of oxygen that your tiny mitochondria are desperately waiting for. You're not just breathing for yourself, you're breathing for them.
So if you remember only one thing from all of this, let it be this simple equation. Food plus oxygen equals energy. That's it. That's the fundamental formula for your life. The food you eat plus the air you breathe are combined by your mitochondria to power everything you do. And this is happening trillions of times every single second inside your body.
So what about plants? They have mitochondria too, because they also need to convert sugar into that usable ATP energy. The key difference is just how they get their sugar. We have to eat it. Plants are a bit more clever. They make their own using sunlight through photosynthesis. But even after they make their own food, they still need their mitochondria to turn it into that usable energy currency.
All right, so we've covered the what and the how. Now let's zoom out and talk about the big so what. Why does understanding these tiny engines inside our cells truly matter?
Check out this number. 5,000.
That's about how many mitochondria you can find in a single cell in a part of your body that needs a ton of energy, like your heart or your muscles. Not 50, not 500, 5,000 tiny factories packed into one microscopic cell, all working nonstop just to keep your heart beating. The scale of it is just staggering.
And their complexity is just incredible. They have this clever two-membrane system with the inner layer all folded up to create a massive surface area for making energy. And because they have their own DNA, you inherit it almost exclusively from your mother. Plus, they aren't static. They're constantly moving, changing shape, and even merging with each other inside the cell. It's a whole dynamic world in there.
So think about it. The electricity firing in your brain that forms a thought, the contraction of your heart that pumps your blood, even the simple act of blinking your eyes. None of it is possible without the relentless, non-stop work of your mitochondria.
They are the absolute foundation of everything you are and everything you do.
And that brings us to one last big thought. We've established how absolutely essential these ancient partners are for life. So, that begs the question, if our entire lives are powered by these tiny engines, what happens when they start to fail? What does that mean for our health, for aging, and for disease? It's a huge question, and definitely something to think about.